Hey guys, so I wanted to do a reading series, reading vlog, and I've been kind of in a slump. I've mostly just been watching shows and whatnot, and so one of the shows that I watched recently was the Mysterious Benedict Society on Disney Plus. On TikTok, you know how TikTok people have like uploaded like different parts of like TV shows and movies and stuff like that, and I kept seeing one of like the first episode of the show, and it's so cute, it's so colorful, and one of the things I really enjoy about shows is like really clever kids or really smart people. I just like watching stuff like that, and so I was really attracted to the series, so much so that I went and purchased a Disney Plus subscription. And so I did that. I binge watched both seasons within like a couple days, only to find out that they freaking canceled it. Like, they are freaking canceling everything, all your favorite shows, all my favorite shows. They just canceling them left and right. And so it ended on like a crazy cliffhanger, which is like the worst part. Like, it didn't even end nicely. It ended on a cliffhanger, and so I was like, dang, I know that this show is based off of a book series, and so I decided to go to my local library and purchase the books. So I have the whole series right here, all four. I know there's like a book that's like a prequel about like Mr. Benedict, but I don't know if my library had that, and I don't really care. I don't think I'm gonna read it, but I have the main four here. So the first two books, this is the first one, this is the second one. The first two books are the ones that got turned, or the first two seasons of the show are based on the first two books. I don't know if you can see that. Might be too bright. Ooh, yeah. Based on the first two books, which I really enjoyed. It was super cute, and so I'm going to basically read all four, but the main ones, when I read these, I'm gonna, you know, tell you my thoughts on how they compare to the TV show, because I did some like searching up on Reddit, like, which I tend to do after my favorite show has been canceled. I immediately go to Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, anybody who will tell me, you know, more about the show and more of what other people thought. And I know that a lot of people, there are some things in the first two in the show that they feel like, you know, didn't do the book series justice, and so I'm going to let you guys know my thoughts on that. The book/show are basically these four kids who are, you know, incredibly smart and talented and clever in different ways, and they basically were recruited by Mr. Benedict to help him save, at least the first book, based off the first show, because like I said, I haven't read the first book, I've only watched the show, is to help what the heck is it even called, actually? I want to say The Great Experiment, but I know that's not it. The Emergency, that's what it's called. The Emergency. So basically, Mr. Benedict enlists these four kids to help him stop the emergency that's going on and messing up, you know, people's lives and, you know, their free will and things like that. And so yeah, you'll see me when I do a check-in for this first book and how it's going. Okay, hey guys, it is I coming to you live from my hallway featuring my grandmother's hat rack. gaze upon its glory. I tried to sit outside on our patio deck, but our neighbor's like radiator, air conditioning, whatever, was making so much noise, so that wasn't working. Hi, Sierra. 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 Hi, Sierra. Okay, so I have finished the first book in the mysterious Benedict Society series, and I have some thoughts. I wrote them all down because I am somewhat forgetful. Okay, so obviously, as I discussed in the intro, I decided to read the book series because I watched the first and only 2 seasons of the show created by, or like produced by, whatever the word is, by Disney Plus, but they canceled it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna read the books because I loved it so much. And so I've read the first book. And I will say, like I said before, it is like 500, almost like, maybe not 500, maybe almost 400 pages, which is pretty hefty. But I finished it in a timely manner. And I will say that I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it even more because I've already technically read it or watched it from the show. And so it was nice just to get like reacquainted with all the characters and whatnot. So I wrote down a bunch of notes, and one of the first things I wrote down were what I thought of the main 4 characters. So the main 4 characters are Rainy, Kate, Sticky, and Constance. And with the show, from the show, my favorite was Kate. I love that character. She's so crafty and just so funny and just so determined. And after I read the book, she is still my favorite character. I loved her even more. She seemed even more like hands-on and smart and intelligent in a different way than the other kids. So and I think the book, or I guess the show, based on the book, did her justice, which is something that I also saw was the opinion of other people. They enjoyed how her characters pretty much stayed the same as it was, you know, moved on to the show. So for Rainy, the book is told mostly from the perspective of Rainy, and I would say that the book definitely goes into more like depth of goes more deeply into his character in the book, since most of it is from his perspective, which I enjoyed a lot. I think in the book you can read obviously and see more of his struggles as a character, and you know, being a leader and his doubts and whatnot, and also a lot of his like I guess I would say negative self-talk. Like on the show, it was clear that he kind of struggled with being like the leader and having to make decisions, but in the book you could see way more than that, and how he kind of held himself to like a certain standard compared to his friends, and so I enjoyed that. Sorry, I have to like also on how much he enjoyed being in the Whisperer. I think in the show that was more, Sticky stood out more as like the character who was mostly interested in the Whisperer, and how much he enjoyed in being in it, and how good the Whisperer made him feel. That was more of Sticky's role in the show. But in the book, like, we obviously have like his inner dialogue and his own feelings about it, and so I definitely enjoyed reading that a lot from Rainy's perspective. Okay, and then the next character is Sticky. So I guess Sticky in the book, I think the big thing about Sticky was that his main like characteristic was that he's like super anxious and things like that. And honestly, like, you could tell a little bit of that from the show, but not as much as the book. And I think what the big difference is because in the book he has like the negative, or not the thing, the anxious quirk of him, like, you know, constantly taking off his glasses and cleaning them off, compared to the show where there really wasn't any of that. And so like in the book I could definitely tell how like much anxiety he carried with him, which is something about like his quirk with his glasses, which is something I saw people complain about a lot, that they like didn't bring onto the show. And I wonder like why they didn't do that. Like maybe they felt it was, I don't know, impractical for, you know, every time something goes wrong he was anxious he would take his glasses off. I don't know. I feel like they could have included that, and it would definitely like drive home like how anxious and, you know, nervous he always is or was. So yeah. And then the fourth character of this series, Constance Contraire. So I don't know, I think so from the show Constance was definitely like my second favorite character, to be honest, just because like one, from the show, like I said, I've never read the book series, but from the show I could tell that Constance was supposed to be younger than the other kids. So like all the other kids are, you know, around like 11 or 12, and for me watching the show I thought Constance was probably, you know, around like 8 or 9. So I could tell that she was definitely supposed to be younger, and at first I was a little annoyed with her, but as the show went on I did find her to be more of a comic relief, and I really enjoyed hearing all her, you know, contrarian actions, or, you know, quick-witted comebacks to all the rest of the kids', you know, plans or whatever. But in the book I did not like her that much. Like it was just weird. Like it seems like even more negative than I feel like was necessary. Like I just did not like her as a character. And I also did not like how she is like 2 years old. I just felt like what is the point of that? It just makes no sense to me. I just did not like it, which I guess is supposed to be the point of her character. Like she's basically like in her terrible twos, I guess. Like I don't know, but I didn't really like it, but I do still like her as a character. In the first book, Constance, I guess because she's 2, she didn't really seem like that, like clever or gifted or anything like that. Obviously near the end when you realize, oh my god, she's 2 years old and she's like she's able to speak like full sentences, paragraphs, and come up with plans, and like, you know, point out the flaws in the other kids' plans or whatever. But she didn't really seem like that gifted throughout the show. I mean, throughout the book. But in the show, she definitely seemed like gifted. She seemed like a gifted kid. So yeah. So those are my opinions on the 4 main characters. You know, the mysterious Benedict Society. Okay. And then the other thing, some other characters, like supporting characters in the show. Dr. LD Curtin. So he was definitely a lot more of a villain in the book, like really like a villain, really just mean and just like a horrible person compared to the show. Like, and that's like a thing that I have about the book in general. The book felt a lot more meaner and just like cruel in really weird ways compared to the show. The show was a lot more subdued, and which I really didn't really like in the book. Like when Kate got beat up by, you know, Kurt's like henchmen and all the other stuff, like it was, or Curtin's henchmen and stuff like that, I was just like, what the heck is going on? Like, what is this? Why is this necessary? It like in a lot of ways the book just felt really, really mean. And so Mr. Curtin, or Dr. Curtin, I don't know what his, I can't remember, even though I just read it. So yeah, he was definitely like more of a villain in the book, which I honestly enjoyed. And I also liked like the whole twist of why he's in like a wheelchair and stuff like that. I thought that was a really nice touch. I also enjoyed that his trigger for his narcolepsy was anger, and because in the show they kind of like twisted it where it was like, oh, is it anger? No, actually it's vulnerability, which I was like, okay, I guess. But like with the whole twin thing, I kind of like how it's like joy, anger, you know, kind of like opposing sides. So I enjoyed that a lot. Also, supporting characters that I preferred, Jilson and Jackson, an iconic duo, but I honestly preferred them in the show to the book. In the show, they are like creepy cult supporter followers that just like walk the same, talk the same, act the same, and just follow Mr. Curtin around everywhere, which I really enjoyed in the show. In the book, they were just bullies, like, which is like another thing. Like, a lot of the characters were just like mean and just bullies, just did like the meanest stuff, especially like to like SQ, which is another thing. Not SQ, is it SQ? Yes, SQ. Like, just straight up mean. I was not feeling it. So I honestly preferred them in the show because I kind of like the creepy cult vibe that the, you know, Institute was giving. Okay, so now some more things, like more plot focused. So one thing that I'm kind of disappointed in the show for, that there were so many scenes in here that in the book, just showing like the kids' adventures and journeys and trips and, you know, setbacks and trying to, you know, figure out what's going on with Mr. Curtin and trying to stop him, that I really honestly enjoyed, because a lot of it had a lot of the scenes were interactions between the kids. And so like in the show, like, I absolutely love, you know, the idea of like found family and, you know, them sticking by each other when, you know, they don't have anyone else because they're orphans and stuff like that. But the book really showed that and solidified their friendships, which is, I enjoyed a lot more. And so I have some examples, but I have to look at my phone. Yeah, so just like all the little shenanigans that the kids were getting up to, and like all the little ways that they were trying to figure out the mystery about the Institute and, you know, what was going on. So like one of the things that I thought was really interesting, which like kind of, I guess, like thinking about the second book / second season of the show, there was a scene like that. So in the first book, there is a scene where Rainey and Kate are trying to sneak a peek into like the gym while all the executives and messengers are in there, and they're doing like this weird series of moves that kind of looks like they're like welcoming people or whatever, and which I thought, and, you know, they almost get caught and they have to run away and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a really cool, you know, tiny little thing of them, you know, trying to figure out the you know, the mystery behind it. But there was just like a bunch of little moments like that that I really enjoyed in the book, because I just felt like I got to know the main 4 characters better compared to the show. Also, a big thing, one of the big things, which is a complaint that I saw in the show, was how the kids were interacted with the Whisperer and how it affected them. So one thing that I liked in the book that wasn't in the show was that the Whisperer, so in the show, only Constance can hear, you know, the messengers while they're in the Whisperer. But in the book, Constance can still, you know, obviously this is what the show is based on, but obviously, you know, Constance can hear the messages in the Whisperer, but the other kids are affected at the same time when messengers are in the Whisperer. So, you know, they don't feel well, their stomach hurts, they feel angry, they want to, you know, fight each other, they want to physically harm each other. It's just so weird. By the way, like, again, the book is weirdly very cruel and mean. I don't know, but so yeah, and I thought that was a really, really cool detail that the show, I feel like, should have done something with. Like, I don't know, like, I just thought it was really cool. Another cool way to see how the Whisperer was affecting them, because they were so like in tune with it. And then like another thing that I thought of when I was like making my notes was that maybe that's why Constance is like, well, I mean, I don't know, but maybe that's why Constance is so grumpy and mean all the time, is because she's constantly tuned into the Whisperer, so that's why she's so angry or whatever. But I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool detail that they should have kept in the show. I don't know. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Okay. Yes. So yeah, because I feel like one thing I noticed, like, in the book versus the show, the kids were in the book, the kids are like always together, they're experiencing a lot of things together, which kind of like, you know, But compared to the show, they're all kind of like trying to do their own separate things and like working together but not really working together. And so I really enjoyed the book more in that aspect. And then also another side character, Milligan. I preferred the book version of him to the show version. His story was a lot more heartfelt for me, especially his reunion with Kate, aka Katie Cat, because you could also see like he's remembering, you know, his last moments with her, which is like the last memory that Kate tells us she has of him. And so it was just a lot more heartfelt, and that's another thing that I like more in the book, is that there are a lot more heartfelt moments, which I guess is fair because they have like, you know, 400 pages to do it and words are magical, compared to the show where it's just like, you know, so in the show she like falls off a cliff and he catches her, and there's like a, you know, vision or whatever of, you know, him throwing Kate in the air when she's like a baby, and then they're like, oh, you're my daughter, and that's it. Like there's really like no more conversation about it. So I definitely prefer the books. Okay, so there's that. That's pretty much everything I have to say about the book. We're off to a really good start. I really enjoyed this first book. It was super easy to read and fast to read for me. And let me see if there's anything else I have to say. So I wrote down like some things that I preferred in the show. Book hints on it, but I think the show does a better job of like delivering it, and like, you know, whatever, is the fact that there are different types of intelligence and that they're all, you know, important. So in that case, specifically with Kate has a different type of intelligence. She's not like, you know, super quick-witted or whatever, like Rainey in particular. And in the show they do a really nice, good job about that, because she expresses like her frustrations a lot with that. She's like, you know, this school isn't, you know, made for me. Like I'm just not smart in the way that you guys are. But her friends, you know, still show her like, hey, like you're still needed. The things that your skill set and what your mind can do is still really important. And the show definitely, not the show, the book definitely describes that and shows that, but it's a lot more casual. Like it's not like, you know, straight up like, you know, being good with your hands and, you know, knowing all this really cool stuff is good too. And so I definitely prefer the show more than that. Okay, so that's all I have for the first book. That's all I have for this first book. And so we're on to the next book / the next season of the show comparison, which is also the last season of the show based on this book series, which is The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey. So, and I've already started it, so I'm about this much into the book, which is 94 pages, and like I say, I'm already loving it. And I also want to mention that, again, a thing that I think the book does a lot better, the reunion of the kids after, you know, 6 months or so after they defeat, not really defeat, but basically defeat the Institute, I guess I should say. They defeat the Institute and solve the mystery there. After 6 months or so, they meet back up. The book does a lot better with the reunion. You can definitely tell that they all really care about each other. Even Constance really cares about each other and really missed each other, and, you know, they really consider each other family. Compared to the show, it was mostly just Rainey, like, wanting to know if Sticky missed him or not, which is another thing that I've noticed, that the show doesn't really stick to the pairings that the book has. Like in the show, on the show, a lot of the pairings and stuff is like Rainey and Sticky, but I noticed a lot in the book, especially in the first book, is definitely like a lot of Rainey and Kate moments. And so like in the second book we get like a whole chapter of just Rainey you know, maybe the whole first chapter of just Rainy and Kate like really, you know, getting close and stuff like that. And she basically, you know, tells him like, oh my god, like of course I missed you so much. Like you could just tell that they all really care about each other. So the reunion was a lot more heartfelt in the second book compared to the show. Like the show was very lukewarm. It was like so yeah, I will either I'll check in. I don't know. I said I would check in last time, but I didn't. But maybe I'll check in again when I'm like almost done or halfway done. Or you'll just see me when I'm done and I give my thoughts. On to the next book. It looks like I'm out at night, but I'm not. I'm in a parking garage. I am waiting for my interview time. A book update. I have read more of the second book and I am enjoying it so far. I will say it's like a completely different book. Not book. It's like I don't know what the word is, but like the second book is completely different from the second season of the show. Like completely different. The clues are a little bit different. A lot of the adventure is different. The like run-ins are different. It feels like a completely different thing, but I am enjoying it a lot. I will say one thing about Sticky is like going through like a crisis of, you know, an identity crisis, because he seems like a bit full of himself because he knows so much and the others like don't like it. But compared to the show, like I guess it's because maybe in the book he goes on like his rants, his textbook rants a lot more often than in the show, because in the show the rest of the gang doesn't seem that bothered by it, but in the book they really do, which is really interesting. Which is another thing that I find really interesting about the books versus the show, is that the kids seem a lot meaner or like judgmental. I don't know, I guess because they're kids and kids are kind of mean. But anyway, besides that interview, I quit my corporate job in March for lots of reasons that I won't get into. Maybe that's a separate video. But now I'm on the search for another job, and today I have an interview with a bank. It's not my first choice of jobs, but your girl's funds are depleting. Okay, the savings account is depleting, so I do need another job. And like most people, most like Gen Zers, I guess, like I've just figured out that I don't really have a passion for work, and I'm still trying to figure out my own passions. And so right now I'm just getting a job just to get a job, you know, like I'm just trying to, you know, if you hear a sound, it's me playing with my parking garage ticket. Yeah, I'm just like trying to get a job just to get a job, and because I need money, you know, I need money to survive, unfortunately. So like a normal person, usually I like to scope out a place before I actually go there for the first time. But this time I did not, which was obviously a mistake, because driving, I missed like my turn into the parking garage because I didn't see the enter part, because mostly it was an egg, like I don't know, so you know how like they have like, you know, this is the entrance / exit to the parking garage. Most of it was the exit, and then it was like a little tiny bit for the entrance, and so I missed it, and then I ended up turning onto a one-way street. But then I was smart and I quickly drove into another parking lot area, and then I, you know, turned myself around. But it was a little bit of a scare, because as I was turning, there was a person trying to cross the street. I didn't hit them or anything, but she was trying to tell me that the street was a one-way, and you know, obviously I'm in a big car, so what could I do except to go forward? So anyway, I'm alive. I'm a recent driver, 23. But yeah, so I think the interview will go fine, as long as they don't ask me any like behavioral interview questions, because I don't have great memory and like I can't remember anything. So like if they ask me, you know, name a time, or you know, tell me a situation where you had to deal with an unruly customer or something and how you know, overcame that. I will not be able to pull anything out of my mind because I just don't remember stuff like that. But after these phone interviews that I had, I realized maybe I should. Okay. Affirmations, affirmations. Affirmations, affirmations, good affirmations, good spirits. I'm capable, I'm confident. I am a great person. I would be an excellent worker. I am all of these things. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I have finished the second book in the Mysterious Benedict Society series. But after reading the actual like second book, it is completely different. Completely different. Like the show went like an entirely different direction. At least what I think is an entirely different direction. The second season, the whole plot, mysterious, you know, stop the bad guy thing is Dr. Curtin is basically trying to force happiness on people, and it has like a little cult, and our, you know, in the Mysterious Benedict Society is basically trying to stop that. But in the actual book, it may be having a cure for narcolepsy, and which is like a completely different direction. But I guess, like, again, speaking backwards, the show went a completely different direction. They did something totally different. So the book was like not even like the second season, or the second season is nothing like the second book. So this is really confusing because I'm kind of speaking backwards. But anyway, my opinions on the second book of the series. I do like it. I thought it was very good. The stakes were incredibly high, in my opinion. Like, it was kind of intense. It got kind of intense when the kids were all on the island and they were trying to save Mr. Benedict and number 2, and they were like hiding in, you know, abandoned buildings and having like stakeouts and having to drag, you know, Milligan on around an island. It was just, it was like the stakes were high. I did enjoy it though, despite it being completely different from the show slash the book being, you know, the show being completely different than the book. I did enjoy it. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'm going to be moving on to the third book in the series, which is the Mysterious Benedict Society, the Mysterious Benedict Society, and the Prisoner's Dilemma. So now we are entering new territory because Disney canceled the first 2 seasons, aka the first 2 books, and so I have no idea what to expect from this. So I guess let's read the synopsis or whatever this thing is called in the back. So it says, join the Mysterious Benedict Society as Rainy, Kate, Sticky, and Constance embark on a third adventure that threatens to force them apart from their families, their friends, and even one another. When an unexplained blackout engulfs Stonetown, the foursome must decipher clues to unravel a nefarious new plot. But this time, their search for answers will bring them closer to danger than ever before. Is this the end of the Mysterious Benedict Society? Yes. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I will see you guys when I either do a mid-check, like a, you know, in the middle of the book, or when I finish the book, because I think this video is getting kind of long. Maybe, I don't really know. Anyway, bye. Wow. I have a plant. Isn't she very cute? She is an Asian snake plant, or a snake plant from Asia. I don't know how one would word that. And it's a cat. Ah! So I'm back. I have finished reading the Mysterious Benedict Society and the Prisoner's Dilemma. And I'm kind of gonna do like a recap of this book, but also the previous one, because I don't think I touched on a lot of anything. So I guess with this book we basically follows obviously a continuation of the last one, but the main plot point is basically a good chunk of the beginning of the book is like just slice of life things, all the kids are doing stuff and, you know, getting closer together and whatnot, and then we transition into like a revival of Dr. Curtin or Mr. Curtin. I don't know, Dr. Curtin just flows off the tongue, so I'm gonna say Dr. Curtin. Dr. Curtin trying to get the Whisperer back from Mr. Benedict, as he has, you know, basically turned it into a good force. Sorry, there's an ant on the ground that just distracted me. Dr. Curtin is trying to get the Whisperer back from Mr. Benedict, and Mr. Benedict has turned the Whisperer into a force of good, basically, and it also becomes like this, you know, search for Constance, because she like runs away and stuff like that, and that's basically it. Again, this is the book, the start of the series where that, you know, differs from the show, because in the show there's only 2 seasons, and I can't say I totally loved it, but I did enjoy it. Again, like the last book, it seemed very like high stakes. Like the book series is definitely a lot more high stakes, a lot more drama and tension compared to the show. The last book, it focuses on or tries to start a conversation or a plot point of Constance's psychic abilities, and in this book we definitely get a lot more. We get way more on Constance's background, basically where the heck she came from, and we find out that she is an orphan like the rest, or I mean, yeah, well, the other 2 out of the rest of the mysterious Benedict Society. And that's really it. I don't really have much to say. There wasn't anything. I still like all the characters. I will say the father-daughter dynamic between Milligan and Kate is absolutely to die for. I love like their interactions. I love how they're basically like the same person, but they have like different skill sets, but also the skill sets are kind of similar, like being very outdoorsy and active and hands-on and very blue-collary. I don't know how to word that. And blue-collary in the sense of like their skills, which I really enjoy seeing them bond over it and have like be of the same mind, especially in those tense situations where they kind of just know what to do. I do like, it's kind of hard because I like Constance, but I don't like I still enjoy the show Constance better because she's older, so she's not as whiny and like complainy and like annoying like a 3 to 4 year old kid is, which she is in the books, and so I just find her super annoying. Yeah, and I'm kind of happy the show didn't have her that young, because I just could not imagine, like, especially like in this book, like the last book and especially this book, like the age gap between you know, Kate, Rainey, and Sticky and Constance, like the age gap is so obvious. Like they're just like completely different kids, which I guess is the point, but I just hate it. I don't really like it. It's not my favorite. So one big thing, which again we probably will never ever find out because Disney canceled the show, but a huge difference between how the show, a huge thing that the show and the book handled differently, or the show did differently from the book, since obviously this came first, was Dr. Curtin and SQ's relationship. So in the book, SQ is basically like an executive for Dr. Curtin, and basically like a follower or whatever, and he's also basically kind of dumb because of what of a point that we find out in the book, that he's basically brain sweeping him all the time, so that's why he's, you know, kind of dumb and forgets things a lot, because, you know, he has no memories, I guess. And like in this book they kind of explore why Dr. Curtin is keeping SQ around, because of love, I guess, with like the riddle that they give him or that the Mr. Benedict gives the society a riddle to figure out why Dr. Curtin might be keeping SQ around, and it's supposedly for love, or like wanting to have someone who's like blindly following you and whatnot, which is totally different from how the show did it. The show decides to have SQ as like an actual adoptive son of Dr. Curtin, and we do kind of see there is a moment in the show where Rainey is trying to get close to SQ to find out more information on, you know, about like the institute or whatever. SQ ends up finding out why Rainey is like doing that. Like basically he finds out that he is a spy. He's trying to spy on his adoptive father, and there is a moment where SQ wants to go tell his father, but then he decides not to for whatever reason, but it's literally never ever explored further or deeper in the show. But like I said, we probably will never know because they canceled it, so we don't really know how they would have handled it. I will say the book is kind of like, or the series is kind of slowing down on like riddles and clever plot points and the kids using their clever abilities to figure stuff out. Like they are definitely having, you know, their little meetings and thinking stuff through, but it's mostly like, oh, Rainey is just like thinking of the answer, and Constance is like, oh, he has the answer already, and the other ones are like, oh, well, just tell us. Like there's not really a lot of clever, fun, interesting things going on that shows like oh, these kids are gifted and they're very, very intelligent and like in their own different ways and whatnot. Like there definitely are riddles, but the riddles don't have like any plot point compared to like the second book, where like they're on the ship and they have to find these clues and solve the clues to try to get to Mr. Benedict. This book is kind of just like, hey kids, like here's like a little book, or like, you know, here's like a little riddle to figure out, you know, what the heck I'm talking about, but that's really it. And for the book's namesake, The Prisoner's Dilemma, it's like the first lesson the kids have because they're like trapped in Mr. Benedict's home, and it's really like not that impressive. Like I don't know, it's really not that impressive. It's not like a big part of the show. I will say like with Sticky, his story is like completely different to the show. I think I've already said this, but like it is explored a little bit more here. And in the last book, where he actually has his parents, like in the show it's just his aunt and his uncle and he just runs away, but in the show it's his actual parents and they actually come back into his life and they care about him, compared to in the show where, you know, he's basically like, he runs away and now he's an orphan. Yeah, I can't say that I like one more. I do like the book series more because it is the in that way that they have more emphasis on like found family. So I guess like some plus for the series overall like for the book series is that, oh my god, is that a fucking spider? Oh my god, it's a spider. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's on the door. Don't open it, please. Oh my god. Ow! Oh my god. It's like green. It's moving. Oh my god. Ah! Okay, it's out of eyesight now, so I will be moving on to the last book in the series. Technically, there is a prequel to the series about Nicholas Benedict, but I don't really care about that. So this is the last book series. It is titled The Mysterious Benedict Society. Nope, that's the wrong one. It's actually this one. The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Riddle of the Ages. Wow, very cute cover. I don't think it is. But what the heck is it? I mean, it could be plastic. Probably not a real bird. Probably not. Okay people, hey, I am back with a check-in for the, like a midway check-in for this book, for the last book in the series. And I just wanted to let you guys know my thoughts since I'm in the middle of it. I am 200 pages into the book and I am liking it so far. I don't know if I said, if I have been like talking much about a certain aspect that I really like in the book. I don't know how much I've said it, but I really enjoy how we can see the kids being kids, and in this book they're now like, you know, 3 out of the 4 of them are now like young adults or almost young adults. They haven't explicitly said like how old each of them are, but I'm gonna say like in the first book, Constance is like 2 and Kate is 12, so like 10 years apart, and Constance is like pre-teens, so Kate has to be like almost 20. What I want to say is that I really just enjoy reading about them like being kids and like having feelings and like their own interactions with each other. Like they're all like, they have arguments, they get annoyed with each other, they're constantly trying to be patient with Constance, and you know, when she is like completely so annoying and so emotional, in a way that I guess, you know, a toddler and now a preteen teenager would be. They call her a mean-ager, because she is mean. She was mean when she was a kid and she's still mean, but she's a little bit different now. But yeah, I just really like reading like how much they all really love each other, and it's just very like, it's just very sweet to read about. And even Constance, she has like a little rant, a little chapter where she's like, you know, thinking to herself, and she is like, oh, like they're so lucky that, you know, I decided, because she's psychic, she's able to know, like she knows that they've all had like crushes on each other, like the other 3 of the society, and she's like, oh, they're so lucky that I, like, you know, haven't told them, or told, you know, in anger have said that, oh, you like this person or did this, that, and that, and tried to embarrass them. And I just think like it's just really cute to show like, oh, like these are kids who spend a lot of time together, so obviously they're going to eventually like get crushes on one another. And I just think it's so cute. I hope I don't actually see that. Like I don't really want to read about it because I'm just having like a fun time thinking of them all as like really close childhood friends and now young adult friends and stuff. And you know, they've all seen each other at different stages and whatnot, and I just think it's so cute like how well written like their dynamic is as friendship, is even especially for Rainy and Sticky. I don't know what the heck is wrong with Sticky. Sticky, he has like, I mean, I guess it's got to be hard like if you know everything, like it's got to feel weird to know that other people still go towards another person for stuff and for like answers and whatnot. And so Sticky is like constantly battling, like always like feeling annoyed when people ask Rainy for answers or look to Rainy for things, and they're like, and when they're like by themselves with each other, they're constantly like trying not to step on each other's toes. Sticky is trying not to seem outwardly annoyed at Rainy or angry with Rainy, and Rainy is trying not to like be like, I know you're mad, you know, like trying not to step on his toes. It's just, but at the same time they're just like, hey, like I just want to be your friend, like can we just go back to being friends? And I just think it's so cute, and I just love reading about it. Yeah, so that's really where I'm at. So I have gotten like the first couple pages, like you're immediately introduced to the new member of the society. His name is Tai, spelled T-A-I, and he's like 5 years old, and he's basically was brought on by Constance because he's like being chased after someone, and he doesn't seem like very smart or intelligent in the way that the others are, especially not Constance when she was like, you know, 2 years old speaking the way she was. But he apparently has like psychic ability like Constance, and so that's why like she brought him into the society. And he is completely different than Constance, and Constance has like a little jealousy moment because Tai is like cute, he's nice, he's curious, which is completely different from, you know, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 4-year-old Constance, who was so mean and annoying. And so I don't know, I thought I wouldn't like it, but I really do like it. I think it was smart. I was kind of expecting them to bring like a kid, like an older kid, or like somewhere around Constance's age, but since he's like so much younger, it's just so cute and refreshing to have like a cute little kid around, because Constance definitely was not cute. She was not cute at all. I will say I'm kind of tired. Like I don't know, like it's one thing for Dr. Curtin, Mr. Curtin to be like the villain, but I'm kind of sick of the 10 men. Like I'm sick of seeing them all over the place, and it's just so annoying. Like, I'm done. I'm really done with it. Like, I want some new villains. I'm done with the 10 men. Like, I don't. McCracken can really go jump off a cliff. Like, I'm tired of reading about him. Okay, so I am back, and I have finished the last book in the Mysterious Benedict Society. It honestly is probably my second favorite. Obviously, the first in the series would be like #1. This would be #2, and then I have them all right here. And then I'd probably say, God, I'm trying to remember everything. Then I'd probably say The Perilous Journey is #3, and then Prisoner's Dilemma #4, of like in order of what I like about them, or like my favorite. This one, just to wrap it up, I did enjoy it. I think it was a nice, it ended really nicely, very cleanly, ended on a really good note with like all 4 members of the society deciding to just stay together and not pursue their like different interests, and like basically move away from each other. They decide not to do that, and there is kind of like a argument or blowout between the 4 of them, plus Ty really isn't, he's kind of like a fanboy of the society, so he's just like, he's kind of like the audience. I don't know, for me he just felt like the audience, like saying like all this really cute stuff and like revealing what people are feeling and stuff to each other. But yeah, so they have like an argument near the end of the book, where the 3 older are basically like, hey Rainy, you can't, you know, take everything on by yourself, like you have to include us in like your missions and stuff like that. And they all decide to be honest with each other, and then Constance, you know, yells at all of them and basically tells them like, hey, like I am also a part of the society, you guys need to include me, and why does no one think about me and stuff like that. Which is kind of fair, because even like when we even though we mostly follow Rainy has moments where he's like, oh, he has a moment in here where he realizes that he has little knickknacks from both Kate and Sticky, but he is trying to figure out what he should give them, and he's like, oh, I guess Constance too. And so it's kind of true. So Constance is valid in that point. I will say overall she is definitely less annoying in this book compared to the other ones, because she is a little bit older and she's a bit more sensible. And in this book she's just very sweet and loving in this book, especially towards Mr. Benedict. She like calls him dad now because he adopted her and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really like the way it ended. And then like the whole book is kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like the gang is once again being like hunted by Dr. Curtin and the 10 men, and it kind of comes across that Rainy and the rest like don't really know what's going on, but at the end the plot twist is that they knew what was going on the whole entire time, because they actually planned for it to happen. Basically they wanted to trap all the 10 men in like this specially designed prison for them. Specifically it was designed by Mr. Benedict. And so I think that was a really cool twist. I did enjoy reading about it. Yeah, and then also I want to show, there's like, so Dr. Curtin is like in a jail. He's in jail and he's like writing letters to the 10 men, and it's supposed to have like instructions in it and whatnot. And literally this freaking, we have to like read the actual letter that he sent them, and it's literally like it's freaking like 8 pages. Like it's really freaking ridiculous. Like, whoa. And I was just like, well, this man can just rant and rant. He just loved the sound of his own voice. And it also kind of seems like Curtin, towards the end, he like basically realizes that Mr. Benedict outsmarted him, and that he's basically gonna rot in jail forever. But the jail is actually pretty dang cozy from what I gathered, so I guess not too bad. And I'm glad that Mr. Curtin is curtains for Mr. Curtin. Anyway, so yeah, so that's basically it. I have finished the entire series. Yeah, so overall I will say that I am angry at Disney for canceling the show. I think the book series has so many good qualities, from like all the riddles and stuff like that, even though throughout the book the riddles aren't they're like, it's like they have the riddle, they think about it a little bit, then they all get separated, and then Rainy has the idea and then he just does it, and then there's like a couple more paragraphs of them just explaining it, because Sticky's like, oh okay, well let me make sure I'm not, you know, falling behind or whatever. So, you know, Rainy, is this right? And Rainy's like, yeah, that's right. And then that's basically it. So definitely the first 2 books are a lot more interactive than the second 2 books, and I'm sure that the show would have done like a way better job at like with like the riddles and the solving of the riddles and things like that, and like the clues and whatnot. I like personally, I think I would have preferred it more. And something there's also just something a lot more pleasing to watching something, like visually seeing something happen, compared to like in a book, for me anyway, which is crazy for me to say. And so I think Disney, you dropped the ball. I think it was really, I think the show, and plus the show is just so cute, and that's another thing. Also in the first book, at the back there's like a little quiz to like that you can take to see like which society member you are like. And I took it and I got Rainy, so yeah. That's the thing too, like I think the show, they cast the characters really well, and as I was like reading all throughout the books, I was like picturing these actors, because I feel like in the show, like I just love them so much, and then to like read the book, I was like, whoa, like they really picked the cast well, especially Kate. I just love Kate. Kate's my favorite. I give the first 3 books 4 out of 5 stars, and I give the last book a 5 out of 5 stars, because I just loved it so much. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I have to say about this series. I've read them pretty fast because I want to return them to the library. Support your local libraries. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. I will see you in the next one.